The Whispering Caverns Tragedy. On March 3rd, 2017, seasoned cave divers Alex and Lena Mercer and Diego Ruiz embarked on an expedition to explore the uncharted depths of the Whispering Caverns in New Mexico. Their goal was to map a newly discovered underwater passage believed to extend over 1,000 feet beyond the known sections of the cave system. The team entered the water at 7:15 a.m., descending to a depth of 150 feet before reaching the entrance to the new passage. They proceeded cautiously, with Alex in the lead, followed by Lena and Diego bringing up the rear, carefully laying a guideline as they advanced. After swimming 875 feet into the new passage, they encountered a narrow vertical shaft. Alex navigated through first, followed by Lena. As Diego attempted to pass, his equipment became entangled in a protruding rock formation. Lena came to help, but in his struggle to free himself, he inadvertently caused a small rockfall, which damaged both his and Lena's primary air supplies. With their air supply low, they knew they had to hurry back to the surface, but with Alex too far ahead of them, and having more knowledge of the cave, they weren't sure which way to go. The visibility in cave was very low due to the Diego struggling to get free. He caused a lot of silt and debris to cloud the water. Instead of going ahead to get Alex, they made the decision to try their best to follow the same path back to the surface. Alex, realizing that Lena and Diego were no longer behind him, he quickly backtracked to find his teammates. He started to go back from which they came and could not find either of them. He traveled back to the surface to see if they went back. Once to the surface, he realized they were not there and were lost inside the cave. He immediately called for a rescue team. In the meantime, he went back into the cave, retracing their path to see if he could find them. Meanwhile, both Lena and Diego kept going down the wrong paths and could find their way back. With their air supply nearly gone, they spotted a small air pocket 50 feet above them and decided to ascend, hoping to find refuge and await rescue. The chamber they discovered was barely 15 feet in diameter and 7 feet high, with a small freshwater pool at one end. As hours passed without sign of rescue, the gravity of their situation became clear. Their emergency locator beacons had been damaged in the rockfall, leaving them with no way to communicate their position. The rescue team arrived and began to look for them with Alex. After 2 days of looking, they could not locate them. They announced they were now looking for bodies as they assumed they were no longer alive. After a week of searching, the rescue team had given up their search. In the cave, days turned into weeks as Lena and Diego rationed their remaining food and survived on the trickle of fresh water from the pool. They caught small, blind cave fish and various insects, stretching their resources as long as possible. On day 37, Diego succumbed to a combination of malnutrition, infection from an injury sustained during the initial incident, and the psychological toll of their ordeal. Lena, facing the grim reality of their situation, made the desperate decision to consume Diego's remains to survive. Meanwhile, Alex refused to give up and continued the search for what he thought was his wife's body. The complex cave system and the depth of the new passage made the search incredibly challenging. It wasn't until day 50 that a breakthrough came. On April 22nd, at 2:45 p.m., Alex detected a faint tapping sound. Following the noise, he finally located the small air pocket where Diego and Lena had been trapped for 50 days. The survivor Lena was in critical condition, severely malnourished, dehydrated, and suffering from various health issues due to their prolonged confinement. It took a team of specialized cave rescue divers 18 hours to safely extract her from the cavern. As Lena was rushed to the nearest hospital, the full extent of their harrowing ordeal came to light. The revelation of their desperate measures for survival shocked the caving community and the public alike. The Whispering Caverns tragedy led to significant changes in cave diving protocols and rescue procedures. It serves as a stark reminder of the extreme dangers of underground exploration and the unimaginable lengths humans will go to survive. The Emerald Cavern Tragedy. It was June 15th, 1995, when Marcus Holloway and his twin sons, Ethan and Alex, set out to lead a group of 14 explorer scouts on an adventure through the Emerald Cavern system in northern Montana. Marcus, an experienced spelunker, had navigated these caves before, but the narrow passages of Emerald Cavern were notoriously challenging. At 1:30 p.m., the group entered through the cave's tight 20 by 30-inch entrance. In a larger chamber inside, Marcus noticed several unexplored tunnels. Deciding to check one that seemed to open into a new section, he squeezed through a narrow 16 by 22-inch passage. The slick limestone made progress difficult as he inched forward, unable to move his arms or lift his head. Suddenly, Marcus felt the ground beneath him give way. He slid down a steep 40-degree incline into a crevice barely 6 inches wide. The slippery walls made him slide down, and his trapped arms left him helpless to stop his descent. He called out to his sons, but their attempts to pull him free only caused loose rocks to wedge tighter around his body. As hours passed, hypothermia became a serious concern. Rescue teams arrived but struggled to reach Marcus in the confined space. They attempted to drill a shaft from above, but hit impenetrable granite 15 feet from his position. By Monday morning, Marcus was unresponsive. In a desperate move, rescuers used carefully placed micro-charges to break through the rock. When they finally reached him Tuesday afternoon, it was too late. Marcus had succumbed to hypothermia sometime in the night. In a tragic twist, during the rescue attempt, 17-year-old Ethan ventured into an unexplored passage searching for another way to reach his father. He never returned. Despite years of searching led by Alex, Ethan's body was never found. The incident shocked the caving community. The mother offered a $50,000 reward for the recovery of Ethan's remains, but the mystery of his disappearance remains unsolved to this day. 5 years later, Alex returned to Emerald Cavern with a documentary crew. During filming, a section of the cave partially collapsed, trapping Alex and a cameraman in a rapidly flooding chamber. With only one functional air tank between them, Alex made the heart-wrenching decision to give his air supply to the cameraman, sacrificing himself so the other could survive. His final words, captured on film, were, "Tell Mom I'm with Dad and Ethan now." The Emerald Cavern system was permanently sealed following this incident, serving as a somber reminder of the dangers that lie beneath the Earth's surface. Frank Collins. In the chilly autumn of 1926, Frank Collins, a seasoned spelunker, stumbled upon a hidden gem near the bustling highway of Limestone County, dubbed Whispering Cavern for its peculiar acoustics. This discovery ignited Collins' entrepreneurial spirit. He swiftly negotiated a 60% profit-sharing agreement with the landowners, envisioning a lucrative tourist attraction. Despite its prime location, Whispering Cavern's modest entrance deterred potential visitors. Undeterred, Collins devoted countless hours over the following weeks to expanding the cave's opening. On November 15th, as the first snowflakes of winter dusted the landscape, Collins once again ventured into the cavern's depths. Armed with his trusty oil lamp, Collins navigated the treacherous passages until he reached the infamous point of no return, a daunting chamber that had thwarted many explorers before. Determined to press on, Collins squeezed through a narrow fissure dubbed the Gauntlet, barely 8 inches wide at its tightest point. Beyond the Gauntlet, Collins encountered a steep 15-foot drop. Securing his rope, he cautiously descended, only to find himself facing another, more imposing chasm. Peering over the edge, his heart raced as he glimpsed a vast chamber below, shrouded in darkness. Excitement overtook caution as Collins hastily tied off his rope and began his descent into the 100-foot abyss. As he touched down on the cavern floor, Collins's jaw dropped. Towering stalagmites and delicate crystal formations surrounded him, their surfaces shimmering in his lamplight. However, his awe was cut short as he noticed his lamp's flame beginning to sputter. Realizing the danger, Collins hurriedly began his ascent. Halfway up, disaster struck. His lamp slipped from his grasp, plummeting into the darkness below and shattering upon impact. Plunged into absolute blackness, Collins's movements became frantic. In his panic, he dislodged a sizable boulder which came crashing down, pinning his right leg against the cavern wall. Trapped and in excruciating pain, Collins's cries for help echoed through the empty chambers. Hours turned into days as he clung to life, his hopes dwindling with each passing moment. It wasn't until November 17th, nearly 48 hours after he had entered the cave, that Collins's absence was noticed. A search party, led by his brother Ethan and the landowner's son, 19-year-old Caleb Foster, ventured into Whispering Cavern. They discovered Collins's backpack at the entrance, spurring them to delve deeper. While Ethan and the others turned back at the Gauntlet, young Caleb pressed on, driven by a mix of courage and recklessness. Caleb's perseverance paid off when he finally heard Collins's feeble cries. News of Collins's predicament spread like wildfire, drawing curious onlookers and would-be rescuers from across the county. As the crowd swelled, so did the complications. Campfires lit by spectators caused ice within the cave to melt, creating treacherous conditions for the rescue team. Ethan Collins, consumed by guilt for not accompanying his brother that fateful day, worked tirelessly to coordinate the rescue efforts. He even offered a staggering $10,000 reward for his brother's safe return, attracting fortune seekers and further complicating the operation. As days turned into weeks, hope began to fade. On November 30th, a daring reporter named Lila Thorne managed to reach Collins, installing an electric light and attempting to provide him with sustenance. Her harrowing interview with the trapped explorer captivated the nation, bringing Whispering Cavern into the spotlight. Tragically, on December 2nd, a cave-in sealed off access to Collins, cutting him off from food, water, and human contact. The only indication of his continued survival was the flickering of Thorne's light bulb, which dimmed with each of Collins's labored breaths. A desperate race against time ensued as rescuers dug a new shaft to reach the trapped explorer. However, their efforts proved futile. On December 7th, 1926, after 22 agonizing days, Collins was found lifeless, mere feet away from his would-be saviors. Initially, Collins's body remained entombed within Whispering Cavern, a somber monument to human perseverance and nature's unforgiving power. Months later, driven by a need for closure, Ethan Collins orchestrated the recovery of his brother's remains, finally laying to rest under the open sky he had forsaken for one last adventure.